Hello everyone. Again, this is Teacher Harold, your junior high school mathematics teacher. And I'm going to continue with a discussion about the laws of exponents. And this time, I'm going to discuss the remaining laws. And these are power of a power law, power of a product law, and power of a quotient law. Going to the next slide of this presentation. Again, for any real numbers a and b and positive integers represented by m and n, we have the next laws of exponent, starting with this one. Actually, this is now the fifth law, and we call it the power of the power law, which mathematically states that a to the m raised to the n power is equal to a raised to the product of m and n. Again, we call it the power of a power law. And let us proceed to some illustrative examples with solutions. Letter A, suppose we have to evaluate or simplify 3 squared raised quantity raised to the fourth power. And this is what you're going to do. We have 3 squared multiplied by 4. It means the inner exponent is to be multiplied by the outer exponent. And you will have this answer, 3 raised to the 8th power. So basically, we just apply this law, which serves as our formula or guide in simplifying related expressions such as in letter A. And at this point, we go now to the next item, letter B. How about this one? X to the fifth quantity squared. So again, you just simply multiply the exponents, the inner and the outer exponents, so that your answer is x raised to the 10th power, or that is 5 times 2. So that is x to the 10th. Okay. Next, letter C. How about this one? Quantity negative r to the 5th raised to the 3rd power. Okay. So we have negative 1 raised to the 3rd power times r to the 3rd power. So basically, what you see from letter C is we apply another law, which is at this point we have yet to discuss. Okay. This is a different situation or a different case wherein we are not necessarily purely applying this one. Okay. But then let us continue. Uh, negative 1 quantity cube, when we evaluate this, it will give us negative 1 followed by r to the 5th. And then we multiply that by 3. Okay? Ayan. So that it will give us negative r to the 15. Okay? Ayan. Now, negative 1 cube, since everything is being raised to the 3rd power, and 3, as we all know, is an odd number, therefore the result is still negative, because that is negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1, and the product is still negative 1. Then negative 1 times r to the 15, it's negative r to the 15. And this is your answer. Next, letter D. Again, we have quantity negative r to the f to the 4th quantity squared. Of course, inside the parentheses, there is actually a negative 1 factor. Okay? So we just factor it out. And since negative 1 is also being squared, so this is what happened. Negative 1 quantity squared times f to the fourth quantity squared. Now, since we have f to the fourth quantity squared, we simply multiply the inner and the outer exponent. Yun. Then, since the exponent of quantity negative 1 is an even number, if we evaluate this, it will result to positive 1. So, positive 1 times this quantity is the quantity itself. So, f raised to 4 times 2, we all know that the product of these exponents is 8. So, the answer is f to the 8. Okay? Next, we go to the fifth or letter E, item letter E. About this one. This time, the negative is outside of the parenthesis. Negative of h cubed raised to the fourth power. Since the negative uh, is not affected by the exponent, or what we call this, okay, it is outside the parenthesis, the answer is still preceded by a negative sign. So negative, then h raised to the product of 3 and 4. So that is h raised to 3 times 4. And the answer is again a negative result, negative h raised to the 12, which is our answer. Next. Okay, I think that is this is the last item under this particular law. If you don't have any question, I think we shall now proceed to the next slide, or the next law of exponent. And this is our sixth law, and we call it the power of a product law, which mathematically states that the product of a and b raised to the m will be equal to a to the m times b to the m. So in this law, as you can see, the outer exponent is being distributed to each of the factors inside the parentheses. The outer exponent m became the exponent of a and the exponent of b. So, dinistribute lang yung m sa loob ng parenthesis at naging exponent ng bawat factor. So, we call it power of a power law. A power of a product law. I'm sorry. Okay? Power of a product law. Now, let us go to some examples with solutions. Letter A, about this one. Quantity 2 times 10 raised to the fifth. Okay, so this will become what? 2 to the fifth times 10 to the fifth. So, what really happened here is that if our 2 here has an exponent of 1 and 10 has an exponent of 1, the outer exponent 5 is actually being multiplied to the exponent of each factor. Okay, so at this point, from this given expression, it becomes 2 to the fifth times 10 to the fifth. And from that point, let us continue. When we say 2 to the fifth, that is 32 times 100,000. Okay, if we evaluate 10 to the fifth. And 32 times 100,000 will give us what? 3,200,000. Okay, your answer. Next, letter B. How about this one? Quantity 3 times 5 squared. So just like in letter A, we multiply the outer exponent 2 to the exponent of each factor inside the parentheses. So that from that point, it will give us 3 squared times 5 squared. And we know that 3 squared is 9, and 5 squared is 25. And 9 times 25, as we all know, it is equal to 225. And this is your answer. Next, letter C. How about this one? Quantity 3x to the fourth. Again, to simplify this, using this law, the power of the product law, meaning 4 here is to be multiplied to the exponent of each factor. Okay? 4 multiplied to the exponent of 3 and also to the exponent of x. So that this given expression will become 3 to the fourth times x to the fourth. We know that 3 to the fourth is 81, so the final answer is 81x to the fourth. Okay. Next, the fourth item, letter D. How about this one? Negative of quantity 2xy cubed. Since negative is outside the parenthesis, hindi siya sakop ng exponent 3, no? Yan. Only those factors inside the parenthesis are to be raised to the third power, but not the negative part or negative 1. Actually, there is a negative 1 here. Okay? Now, so if we're going to simplify this, the result is still preceded by a negative sign. So negative 2 cubed x cubed y cubed. And simplifying this further, this will become negative 8 x cubed y cubed. This is your answer. Next, letter E. How about this one? Now, unlike in letter D, when it comes to letter E, the negative sign is now inside the parenthesis. It means the negative are also being raised to the fourth power. Okay? Particularly negative 4. Okay? So, applying again this law, so we have negative 4 quantity to the fourth. Okay. Negative is still inside, to be placed inside the pair of open and closed parentheses. So, quantity negative 4 to the fourth times u to the fourth times b to the fourth. Now, since the exponent of a negative quantity is even, it means if we simplify this portion, or if we evaluate quantity negative 4 to the fourth, it will give us a positive result, particularly 256 or positive 256. That is the equivalent of 4 to the fourth, followed by u to the fourth, b to the fourth, which is your answer. Next, probably this is the last example under power of a product law, letter F. How about this one? Again, the negative sign is inside the parenthesis, so that is quantity negative 3 rst cubed. Okay, so it means negative 3 is also to be raised to the third power together with r, s, and t. So, if we're going to simplify this, so we have quantity negative 3 cubed, r cubed, s cubed, t cubed. And since this negative quantity is raised to an odd exponent, if we're going to evaluate this, the result is still negative. Because negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3 will give us negative 27, followed by r cube, s cube, t cube. Your answer. And at this point, I've given you enough examples on how to apply this particular law of exponent. Okay, so if you don't have any question with regards to this particular law, let us now go to the next slide for the next law. And this is law number 7. Particularly, we call this law as the power of a quotient law. So if we're going to consider the mathematical statement of this one, we have quantity a over b raised to the m power is equal to a to the m over b to the m. Of course, since we're dealing with fractions here, we need to take note that for the denominator, which is denoted by b, this value must not be equal to 0. Okay. Again, we call it the power of a quotient law. Now, going to the next set of examples, for this particular law, we have letter A. How do we simplify quantity 2/3 to the 4th? So, the outer exponent 4 is to be multiplied to the exponent of each power from the numerator and denominator. So this will become 2 to the 4th over 3 to the 4th. And we know 2 to the 4th is 16 and 3 to the 4th is 81. So we have 16 over 81 as our answer. Next, letter B. About quantity x over y cube raised to the 3rd power. This is simply x cube over y cube. And this is your answer. Next, about this one. Negative of quantity p over q raised to the 5th power. Again, the negative sign is outside the parentheses. So our answer is also preceded by a negative sign. So that is negative of p to the 5th over q to the 5th. Again, the outer exponent 5 becomes the exponent of the numerator and that of the denominator. This is your answer. Next, letter D. Again, the negative is outside the parentheses. So we have negative quantity g over h raised to the 6th power. So just like letter C, the answer is also preceded by a negative sign. So that is negative g to the 6 over h to the 6, which is your answer. Next, letter E. About this one. Okay. Unlike in letter C and letter D, this time the parenthesis is inside the parenthesis. So quantity negative of u over b raised to the 4th power. So, since ito ay nasa loob ng parenthesis, yung negative, and the exponent is an even number, it means the result will result to a positive sign. Okay? So it becomes, ito nangyari, no? Now, since we have a negative quantity here, we factor out negative 1. And negative 1 is actually being raised to the 4th power. So that's the reason why we have negative 1 to the 4th. Parang in-extract yung negative 1 factor dyan. And since naka-raise din sa 4 or sakop ng exponent na 4, kaya ito nangyari. Then, since we have already extracted negative 1, what will be the remaining part of this given expression? So we have u to the 4th over b to the fourth. And we know that negative 1 quantity to the fourth will give us a positive answer, or positive 1. Positive 1 multiplied by this expression will give us, okay, ayan na yun, di ba? And negative 1 times this expression, this fractional expression, will give us the expression itself, u to the fourth, b to the fourth. Okay? Next, letter F. Now, quantity negative of n over p cube. Again, we need to factor out negative 1 here and raise to the third power. So that will give us negative 1 quantity cube followed by the remaining factor, n over p quantity cube, and at the same time you distribute 3, and 3 here will be the exponent of n and p. Therefore, n cube over p cube. And since the exponent 3 is an odd, so if we're going to evaluate negative 1 quantity to the cube, quantity cube, it will result to negative 1. Yan, times this fractional expression. So n cube over p cube. Okay, negative 1 times n cube over p cube will be equal to negative of n cube over p cube, which is your answer. Okay, so earlier I said that I'm going to discuss those 3 laws that I've mentioned earlier, and these are the power of a power law, power of a product law, and power of a quotient law. Now, I've decided to include this one. Okay, actually this is the last law from this presentation, and this is actually the negative exponent law. Okay, so if we have a to the negative n power, that is equal to 1 over a to the positive n power. So again, a here, which is the base, represents any real number, and n is a positive integer. Okay, now, or you can consider this formula. What if we have 1 over a raised to the negative n? To make the negative exponent positive, so that will give us a to the positive n. Okay? So parang dating nasa baba, since negative ang exponent, itataas natin. While here, nasa taas yung a, pero negative ang exponent, ibababa natin. At yung naiwan sa taas ay 1. Okay? So ganun lang yun. Again, we call this the negative exponent rule. Now, let us have some examples. A. Okay, 5 to the negative second power, we make the exponent from negative to become positive. So this will give us 1 over 5 squared. And we know that is also 1 over 25. Okay, next, letter B. 4x to the negative fifth. So, ang may exponent lang na negative 5 ay yung x. Dito, walang kinalaman ang 4. So, 4 times quantity 1 over x to the positive fifth power. And here, we have 4 multiplied by 1. So, our final answer is 4 over x to the fifth power. Next, letter C. How about this one? X to the negative 7 over y to the negative 4. Okay, so ganito ang gagawin natin. Okay, so we reciprocate both numerator and denominator so that there's the respective signs from negative will become positive. So at this point, we have 1 over x to the positive 7 power divided by 1 over y to the positive fourth power. And recall how to divide a fraction by another fraction. Okay. So we have 1 over x to the 7 times the reciprocal of this divisor or denominator. So it becomes y to the fourth over 1. Then multiply numerator by numerator, denominator by denominator. So the result is y to the fourth over x to the 7, which is your answer. Next. Okay. And at this point, I have already discussed all the laws of exponents since the first part of this presentation. Now you wait for my assignment, and we will see you next time.